Welcome back to Sports Spectrum, brother. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. Good to see you. Good to talk to you. Congratulations, my friend. I mean, how crazy is it that you're going to get to play in back-to-back Super Bowls? That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's definitely a blessing to you know, go 10 years and get closer and closer every year, and then, make it last year, win it, and then again, we're right back in it. Our whole motto this year was run it back, and we're one game away from doing that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I want to go back real quick because we didn't talk about this the last time we had you on. We talked about the Super Bowl year, but we never talked about that AFC championship from 2 years ago. And I think it was such a tough loss for Kansas City and losing that game at home, but there's lessons in the losses that we all know. That's actually, can transfer into our spiritual lives too, and our faith journey when we go up and down a little bit and we learn a lot from those tough times. I had to imagine there is some pretty cool lessons that you guys learned in going through that set you up for obviously last year and being able to repeat this year.
Yeah, for sure. I think, that first year we were really, really excited to be at the AFC Championship game. And not saying that we weren't prepared or anything like that, but that was our first time. So now, it kind of seems like, last year was our second time. We knew what to do. We knew how to prepare. We knew what the game was all the media around it and the hype of it. And we just took it one day at a time. And then we get to the Super Bowl, and you know how media night is down here at the Super Bowl. And,
Yeah.
not luckily, but this year is not really like that. So
Yeah.
it's more of like a road game where, for us, we got to experience it last year and the craziness of it and, preparation for the Super Bowl. So this year I think is going to be a little bit easier and preparing and, keeping our head to the ground and running with it.
Yeah, it's funny. I was thinking about that because we saw each other at Super Bowl opening night last year and this year. That's why we're doing this interview, because I would have
I was going to
normally
say, yeah.
in Tampa and we would take that time to talk. And, we can't do that this year. So we're on a Zoom call. And it's so interesting to me because, you know, when you go 14-2 after you go 12-4 and you win a Super Bowl, and then the next year you go 14-2, you'd think, oh, that's an easy year and everything's going fine. But this was one of those years for you where it was there was ebbs and flows, and 14-2 looks great on paper, but it was not an easy year. I have to imagine defending that title, and even personally for you going through some stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely different, with the masks and the testing every day, and, what you can and cannot do outside the building and who you can and cannot hang out with. It was definitely a lot more mentally tough, you know, for the year to just kind of easily go through like we did last year. But you just had to be conscious of everything that you did. And then, you know, I ended up getting it
Yeah,
and missing 3 games from one. The first game was close contact with my wife, and ended up having a girls' trip to Montana and ended up getting it. And then brought it back here, which we didn't know. And then
sure.
she tested, and I went, and then it was protocol time where I went to a hotel. She had just tested positive,
Oh,
home with 3 kids, and I'm at a hotel still testing negative for 9 days. And then on the 9th day, I tested positive and then missed another 2 weeks
mm,
for your quarantine
yeah.
at that point. And then came back and played one game and had a bye week. So my body is definitely feeling a lot better this year than last year for sure.
Man, going through that must have been so hard too. I mean, because, and it's not like, you're immune or I'm immune or anybody else. Obviously, anybody can get this thing, and there's symptoms and there's not symptoms and there's, different situations. But the whole idea of having to react to that and be away from your family and go 9 days and then test, what did that do for you? Maybe even challenge you a little bit in your faith.
Yeah, it definitely did for sure. Just, I was at 17 game win, 17 game active streak,
Yeah.
and losing that, and my wife was all upset thinking I was going to be mad at her. And honestly, it was just a piece over me. Like, it's just a game. Like, it's not a big deal. Like, make sure she's healthy. Like, it's nothing she can control. Like we just said, you either going to get it or you're not. Like, it's not, you can be as careful as you can want to be with it, but it seems like, everyone's just getting it.
Yeah.
So it was just, and then I actually, it was nice to get in the hotel and not the three kids not running around, where I actually got to you know, actually listen to some, messages, and our team pastor Marcellus did a great job. He just sending me stuff. He's like, hey, take a look at this, take a look at that. And it really actually helped me grow, just being alone in a hotel room for 9 days, where it's hard when you're home with the three kids, and you work all day and you come home, and the wife's home all day, and she's like, okay, I'm gonna go to the store real quick. You're in charge. So it definitely helped, but it was definitely nice to have that peace over the whole situation when it first happened.
That's good. Did you have any symptoms at all? Did anything like
no
no yeah.
No, I was good. It was a more frustrating because I felt fine and I couldn't do anything. So
yeah, it is what it is. Anthony Sherman's joining us here on Sports Spectrum. We didn't talk about this last time we had a conversation, but I know how special the relationship is with you and Coach Andy Reid. And, I believe I even said this, once you guys went to a back-to-back Super Bowl, he probably was a first ballot Hall of Famer last year when you won the Super Bowl. But this year kind of solidifies it for me. He is a Hall of Fame coach. There is no doubt about it. But can you talk about the relationship you have with him and what makes him so special?
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely, I think it definitely solidified that last year with that Super Bowl win. But I mean, I think for the most part he's just so personable. Like his whole attitude is like, let your personality show and, be yourself. Like that's why you're here. You got to be yourself and do what you do. And he's just he respects you as a man and respects your thoughts and your opinions. And it's just one of those things where you look at like a dad, like, oh, I just don't want to let him down. It's one of those things. He just got that personality about him. You just love him and don't want to let him down.
Do you have a favorite Andy Reid story? I mean, you play for him for a while now.
Yeah. I mean, I think the best thing is, he always finishes his, team meetings on Saturday nights with, let your personality show and I'll treat you to a cheeseburger. So I think it's just one of those things where he's got a great personality. And the best part about him is the way he is in the media is the same way he is in the locker room and in front of us. So, he's not going to throw anyone under the bus, and he's going to take it if he needs to. And it's one of those things where you can respect him as a man for the way he handles himself.
That's good. Did you get that cheeseburger, by the way?
Oh, always, every week. Every week. That's every week. That's how he does it. And then Haagen-Dazs ice cream.
Oh, wow. He goes all
night
out.
Before. Everyone does. It's got Haagen-Dazs ice cream and a chocolate chip cookie, and you're good to go.
Jeez, no wonder you guys are 14-2. My goodness.
Exactly.
16-2, I should say.
We need to keep winning, so we keep getting more Haagen-Dazs.
That's amazing. I got to ask you. You mentioned your team chaplain Marcellus. He was on the show last year too, and I know that there's a, that time with God and the discipleship during the season can be hard, and especially this year, I have to imagine, where there's quarantines and there's, the situation that you went through, but obviously not being able to get together like you normally would for chapel service and things like that. But what was this year like from a faith perspective for you and for the team, trying to stay discipled and stay connected in the midst of all that was going on?
I think it was, a lot different, obviously. Luckily, Marcellus is one of those guys that can roll with the punches and go with it, because he's a big boxing fan.
Okay.
But no, he did a phenomenal job. Beginning of the year, he sent us every Saturday, a tape message that he made himself, a quick little, 20-minute blast or something. So you could watch that. And then, the other guys that go to chapel, they're all watching it. So you kind of have that conversation after, and you just, what'd you think of this? What'd you think of that? And then, honestly, luckily, we have a great group of guys that we ended up getting Marcellus in the team hotel.
Oh, good.
The night before games. And ever since, he's been doing I'm sorry about that.
That's okay.
Okay, Rem, take that and shut that door, please.
Paint the picture for a minute here, because you're home, but paint the picture for those listening.
She just opened the office door and grabbed things she made from school off the printer, and she's telling me she's going to the store with it.
That would be your daughter,
right? My daughter, Remy, now she's waving, saying hi.
I'm not editing any of this out, Anthony. I'm
No,
just
that's
letting
fine.
you
That's
know.
fine.
I want
No,
the audience to hear real life Anthony Sherman right now.
yeah, no. So back to what I was saying before was
Yeah,
we ended up getting him in, and he'd get tested and be able to come in Saturdays
that's good.
and give us our message together and get together and social distance and masks and all that. So it was all protocol approved,
Yeah.
but it was good to get back to that normal routine of hearing him come in looking forward to him coming every Saturday and giving us the word.
And that's vital. I think people don't understand, maybe they do, but like as an NFL player, that Saturday night chapel service is pretty common if you have a game on Sunday. And I have to imagine that's got to be something that you kind of, because you don't have normal church during a season. That's it, right?
Yeah, I mean that's your service for the week, and you're digging into the word by yourself, or you're hearing it from him, and it's tough, but luckily with this whole pandemic, a lot of churches have went online where you can pull up and find any messages. So I got about a 30-minute drive ahead every day, there and back. So I get a pretty good time of listening to Craig Rochelle,
Mm-hmm.
in the morning, trying to catch up on messages that you might miss from the week before, or just trying to catch up on messages. So you kind of, when you get back into it, when the season's over, you didn't miss a beat.
That's good. As we wind down, I got to ask you a couple questions, football related, and then I want to talk to you about compassion for a second. So we didn't talk about this either. And this is funny. We had a half hour when we talked last time, and I'm like, why didn't I ask him about his nickname? So the nickname is Sausage. You're the Sausage, right? And I didn't
Yeah.
know this, and I don't know why I didn't know this, but I'm watching a YouTube highlight of a touchdown catch that you had against the Chargers from Patrick Mahomes a couple years ago. And the play-by-play voice, Mitch Holthus, who is a great guy, and we've had Mitch on the show as well, of the Chiefs, is calling you the sausage. Like 4 times he mentions the sausage. That's a sausage touchdown
Yeah.
by the
My
sausage.
mom was listening to it and asked if maybe next time, one time he
One
could
time
drop
is
the
enough,
actual name.
right?
No, just the actual Anthony Sherman, the sausage. Like,
Right.
she
Just
was
say his
joking
name.
about it because all he did was say this. So I heard it
But then
on
you
purpose.
score a touchdown against the Ravens this year on Monday night in week 3. And then Eric Bieniemy is quoted as calling that play smoke sausage for you.
That
So
was the name call.
I need to know about this nickname. Where did it come from? Who gave it to you? Tell us
Yep.
about that.
So we were in training camp in 2013 with Coach Reid, my first year in Kansas City. And we were just talking before practice, and he's like, I'm just going to start calling you Sausage. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, you remind me of a sausage, just the way you kind of look in your pads and stuff.
Okay.
Well, year 3 in the NFL, when, like you said, Hall of Fame coach gives you the nickname Sausage, you're going to roll with it.
Yeah,
You're not going to say much about it.
You're not fighting back on that.
Nope. I said, okay, sounds good, coach. And about that rest of that year, maybe 2014, it was more in-house. Coaches would joke around Sausage, some of the players. And then Mitch got a hold of it.
Yep.
And started throwing it on air. And now everyone knows me as the Sausage. And now that I've signed multiple autographs with the Sausage, Anthony Sherman, on it. So I can thank Mitch and Coach Reid for the nickname and for everyone getting to know what it was called. And then, Coach comes up with some funny names for different plays, and just to kind of keep it loose and, not so it's the same thing. And so, okay, this is a gap screen. You can call it gap screen, but let's give it a funny name so everyone kind of knows what to do. And it's just, instead of the whole formation, the whole play, it's just smoke sausage. So everyone knows what to do on that play, and it's easier to call for Pat. So he just named it that. And it was really just a gap screen to the right. And he just called it smoke sausage. And then Coach, obviously, Coach Bieniemy is hilarious. And he decided to tell the media because he thinks it's funny. So everyone knows the name play now.
I must ask you though, when you know that play is being called because it's named after, in essence, you, your eyes got to light up when you're in the huddle and it's at the 3-yard line. It's like, okay, we're calling smoke sausage here on a Monday night. You must be like, here we go.
Yeah, I mean, it was in the game plan the week before. We didn't end up calling it, and then come Friday we installed Red Zone, and it was installed again. So it was one of those things where when I heard the Mustang 42, I knew I was in, and I knew the play because of the personnel group. And I was like, oh my gosh, we're doing this on Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Let's go.
Do you get your
So,
footballs when you score touchdowns? Do you score? How many have you scored in your career? Five,
I don't know,
six,
like
something like
5
that?
or 6 or something. Yeah, you're
Do you
right.
get the balls when you score them?
I actually do. So, the first year I just kept it. I don't know what I did with it. It's in the football bin or something. But
Yeah.
ever since I started having kids, I I've scored 4 touchdowns in that time frame. So what I've done was gotten the ball painted out in the description, and I actually put Rex for the one I scored in 2014 against the Chargers. It was a screen pass I scored on, and I got that done to Rex.
Okay.
So I had his name put on it, and the play and what it was called and how many yards it was. And then following year, I scored against Denver and got my middle son, Bo the football, did a Bo Sherman and gave it to him. And then Remy was the touchdown against the Chargers. So I've gotten every one of them. And then Rex got this last one against Baltimore. I didn't get this one painted. I just gave it to him because he always jokes and says, Dad, when you're out there, tell Patrick to throw you the ball.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
So I'm like, I'll love to, but I if I'm open, maybe he will. So he always jokes about that. So then when I actually scored and I brought the home football home, he couldn't believe it. I showed him after school.
I love that.
On Tuesday when I picked him up, and he was like, Dad, this is it. And I'm like, yeah, buddy, this is it.
That's so cool. That's awesome. Last question I want to ask you before we say goodbye. I'll let you have to answer their question.
No, that's Rex and Bo. They've decided to invade the office, and he thinks it's funny to pull out some of the Quelo rings I have. And now he thinks he's going to put them on.
We got play-by-play happening right now in the Sherman household.
Yep, and now he's putting paper in the printer, and who knows what he's going to print, but
that's
what
okay.
he's doing over here.
I love it. Well, let me close on this before we say goodbye. I need to ask you about compassion, near and dear to your heart. And when we talked last time, you had talked about the trip you made with compassion, but this year it's been different. They have the Fill the Stadium initiative, and they have the situation where there's 70,000 kids in dire need of help. And, they're making a dent, and it's not 70,000 right now, but it's still a pretty tough situation for a lot. And you've lended your name again to not just compassion, but this Fill the Stadium initiative. You're on the lead team. So why is this important again for you to be aligned and aligning yourself with compassion and of course, Fill the Stadium?
It was one of those things where, you don't realize that, there's that many, 70,000 kids from when this pandemic started until about now that would have gotten sponsored and taken care of and been able to, have food and have water and those crucial stuff that they need, especially during the pandemic, and being able to, maybe their dad gets to stay home because a lot of them are day workers and they go in and they work for the day and then they come home and be able to feed their family. If they're not working, they don't get to feed their family. So for us, it was one of those things. It was an easy no-brainer for us, definitely jump in and help as best as we can and spread the word that, all we're trying to do now is just close the gap for these, however long this is until they can start having concerts again and sporting events where they can, you can have that compassion table and sponsor a bunch of kids and get these people taken care of. And just trying to, like I said, close the gap and be there for these kids in the time of need.
Yeah, it's fillthestadium.com for those listening that want to be a part of it, fillthestadium.com. I have to imagine that trip changed you too. You talked about it last time on the show, but seeing it, being on the ground and seeing what's the actual work that's being done by compassion has to even more change your heart in terms of like, I'm getting involved with that. Like, there's just no doubt.
I mean, because I got this experience firsthand on, where your money goes and how the steps are taken to protect these kids and to get them what they need through the churches, and then going there and seeing the pure joy on these kids' faces and seeing what they live with and what they live in, and just given the perspective of, if you hold God first and have him in your life, like all the stuff around, the technology is pretty pointless. I mean, you don't need it. And to see the pure joy in those kids' hearts and knowing where their heart is, it was one of those things where I was like, yeah, I'm getting on board and I'm rolling with these people because they're stopping poverty in the most extreme way
And
for
helping
these people.
kids. Yeah, and
And
helping
yeah,
kids. Yeah, absolutely. I hope I can go on a trip again. I was supposed to go this year. I'm talking to Ken McKinney and the guys over at Compassion and, with the pandemic, but hopefully next
yeah,
year, soon.
we scheduled one at PAO last year for end
Yes.
of June.
Yeah. And then
Yeah, we
that got
scheduled
shut
another
down
one.
like everything else.
Everything got shut down, and definitely when those trips start back up, I'll be taking another one for sure.
I love it. He is Anthony Sherman, two-time AFC champion, and now two Super Bowl opportunities and potentially two Super Bowl championships. We'll see. Anthony, thanks, buddy. Good, best of luck on Sunday to you and to all the guys on the Chiefs. And hopefully we'll talk to you again soon afterwards. Maybe we'll call you back and we'll say, okay, let's talk about winning a second Super Bowl. We'll see.
For sure, I'd
Anthony,
love
thanks,
that.
buddy.
Thanks for having me on.